What's going on? Today we want to do a quick question answer session. And to get things started as people come in, I'm going to draw a card using a regular playing card deck and we'll get the ball rolling. Not going to take too long, maybe, half an hour at most. If you don't know, we're in 2020. If you don't know what that means, let's break down the mathematics. 2-0. Moon, Pluto. Pluto represents the masses. The moon represents the emotional plane. So I'll just use that as a basis as we continue to build as we move forward. So the card that comes up, 10 of clubs. Now, this gives us an energy, it's like a fire and earth energy. When the fire and the earth combines and they synchronize, it's like forging a weapon. So when we think about 2020, we think about the forging of new weaponry. 2020 means we are in a 4 frequency. The 4 is the most challenging number there is. I'm going to actually look at the camera just to show you how serious this is. I've been doing my research. Let me just give you a little taste of the things that I have discovered. Whenever we start a new decade under the 4 frequency, if you don't know what I mean, 2020, 2 plus 2 equals 4. This is the first year of a new decade. So we are in a new decade for the next 10 years. So for the next 10 years, the very first year of the next 10 or the foundation year is on the frequency of the 4. The reason why the 4 is the most challenging number or the darkest number, you can say, amongst angels, if all of the planets are angelic, then the 4 frequency will be the demon amongst the angels. Of course, the story of Medusa or the story of Rahu. We've spoken about this before. Just bringing this point up again for those who may not be familiar with the terminology. So being that we are in the 2020 frequency, if we take it to the tarot, the 20th degree in the major arcana is the Aeon. In some tarot decks, it will be the Judgment card. So you have the Aeon card or the Judgment card. These represents, I guess, depending on which angle, because Judgment is more like a resurrection and the Aeon is more like a destruction. But that's Pluto. The 0, because a lot of us don't consider the number 0. And I haven't found this anywhere. Number 0 is Pluto. Because if we have 10 planets, then, we think about the numbers 1 through 9. We always think about 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9. Even I have been speaking about 1 through 9. I have not acknowledged that Pluto is also a part of this equation. So let me give you the numerology for those who may not understand what I'm talking about. If you want to correlate the numbers with planets, number 1 would be the sun, number 2 would be the moon, number 3 would be Jupiter, number 4 would be Uranus or Rahu. If you use Vedic astrology, it would be Rahu. If you use Western astrology, number 4 would be Uranus. Number 5 would be Mercury. Number 6 would be Venus. 7 would be K2 if you use Vedic astrology, or it would be Neptune if you use Western astrology. 8 would be Saturn, 9 would be Mars. Then of course, where's Pluto? We still have a number left, 0. So using this equation, we have 2 and 0 amplified because you have 20, 20. So you have a moon and a Pluto amplified, doubled. So if the moon represents the subconscious mind, or it represents just your ability to receive and project emotion, and Pluto represents your ability to dissolve into the nothingness. So it's like burning a house down to the ground. You have an abandoned house, you just burn it down to the ground. That would be Pluto's way of solving that problem of an abandoned home. Let's just burn it down to the ground. So the Pluto energy also represents the masses or the collective unconscious, which is why I also been speaking about dreams a lot more, and also the undercurrent for those who are a part of the website. Now, you have this moon energy, this lunar energy, this pure lunar energy, and you have Pluto, complete revolution, universe B. We can just put it that way, universe B. So you have the emotions of universe B. For those who may not be familiar with that terminology of universe B just represents the coming age. As they say that we are in the age of Aquarius, the coming age, that which has not manifested yet, but it exists astrally. So essentially, our part or our purpose of being alive is to manifest universe B, because it's not just going to happen because we want it to. So the purpose of life, at least from my perspective, is to manifest universe B. We are born into universe A. We are born into tradition and structure and paradigms that exist before us. When we are born, we are here to manifest our higher calling, whatever we want to call it, soul, mission, so on and so forth. So this will be universe B because it exists within us. We can feel it within us. We have a sense of it, but it doesn't exist externally. So we have to materialize that which does not exist as of yet. Time becomes an illusion from this perspective because in your mind or your heart, it exists in the here and now because you can detect it. You can go into that world at ease. However, if you try to explain it to anyone else, they may have a harder time understanding it. So in real time, you see universe B, but universe A also exists in real time. So this counterbalance between universe A and universe B is us balancing what we call life. 2020 being the new aeon, we are also in a new decade. So we are in a new aeon slash new decade. And because of this, Pluto likes to use force. There's also a hidden attribute of Pluto. Because most of the time when we think about Pluto, we automatically associate Pluto with the lord of the underworld, which is Hades. So like the first thing that comes to people's head is Hades. But Hades is a Greek god. Pluto is a Roman god, because as we study astrology, it is Roman deities that the planets are named after. So when we think about Mercury, when we think about Venus, these are Roman deities. So Pluto, coming from that pantheon, has a unique attribute that is separate from Pluto being the lord of the underworld, just to give an extra emphasis that Pluto has a seen attribute, which is mostly destructive, but it has a spiritual attribute if you're able to master the chaos. If Pluto was absolute chaos, because it's the furthest planet from the sun, and if the sun represents harmonious order, the moon, as we have come to understand, is the emotional plane or the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is what projects our reality. It's what makes things real. So, in order for us to make things real, hence manifest universe B within the bounds of universe A, because universe A represents mathematics. Mathematics is a language of the universe. So anything we crystallize in this material plane must meet the laws, rules, and regulations of this plane. What this means is, in order for us to manifest our desires, our will, so on and so forth, we have to do so within the boundaries of mathematics, which is basically the 1 all the way to the 0, as we know now to be the planets. as we also know to be the chakras, as we also know to be universal laws. These are the 3 degrees of occult science. So when we synchronize these into one holistic science and we look at what's going on around us, because once you understand numerology, now if I show you something like this, a regular playing card, you're like, yo, how are you able to pull attributes from something that has no image? Because we're used to seeing images. For example, regular tarot deck. I can decode this if I wanted to, but let's make it a little bit more complex. You have to pull from deeper chambers when you cannot rely on imagery. Also, there's nothing wrong with just having a regular plain card, because no one thinks you're doing anything out of the norm. You pull out a tarot deck, it creates a different type of effect. So Pluto, the reason why I bring up Pluto, because Pluto has a helmet that makes him invisible. For those who may not be familiar with the story, Pluto has a helmet that makes him invisible. So Pluto is all about invisibility. So we, going into the 2020 and beyond, must master the element of invisibility. Pluto is here to help us master how to remain and move undetected, to not show forth and showcase who and what we are so readily moving forward, because those times have passed. The times have passed for it to be a thing, to be conscious or spiritual or woke or aware. Those times are gone. That's no longer a thing to necessarily be proud about, because every reality has its duality. What's the next step? The next step is to master the underworld, to go underneath the scene and master the unseen. Because when you are dealing with the outer planets, such as Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto, they have a more subtle effect on physical reality. What do I mean? Once we go into the inner planets, the sun from Saturn, we know we can correlate the inner planets to planetary days, planetary hours, so on and so forth, because the inner planets specifically, affect the physical reality. Now, what do I mean? The more we study astrology, the more we understand the planets have attributes. And because the planets have attributes, each day is assigned a planet, and each hour is assigned a planet. Anyway, without getting too technical in the knowledge, the purpose of me bringing up astrology and numerology and the occult science is this is a way for us to understand everything in life without having to I wanted to say something else. I'm trying to be clean, without having to move all around the place. In other words, I'll say it this way: the occult helps you to understand that which is invisible, as I was just speaking about. Whenever you are dealing with the invisible planets or the outer planets, they influence us in a way that is very subtle. However, it is very effective if you can harness that which is invisible. So Pluto is promoting us to harness that which is invisible. Because we have the moon in front of Pluto, this has to, okay, again, y'all know. I don't want to cuss. The moon, because the moon is in front of Pluto, it has to be lunar. What do I mean it has to be lunar? It has to take place on a feminine plane. You have the archetypal feminine, you have the archetypal masculine. What does it mean to be in the realm of the archetypal feminine? That's what meditation is. That's what astral traveling is. That's what dreaming is. All of these things that we do naturally, passively. It's natural, but it's passive. That's the archetypal feminine. So I'm not really speaking about gender. I'm just speaking about the archetypal energies. So we have to tap into our archetypal feminine to master the invisible forces. Meaning, it's like being conscious in your dreams. Being able to go inside, just, we talk about this stuff, go inside yourself, go within, and have your torch. Have your torch lit within. So Pluto, it's a calm it down. What do I mean by calm it down? No one should know anything about you other than business. Tame the emotions. We see a lot of emotional energy, not just on social media, but also physically. Remain silent. Seal your tongue. Do not speak outside of those who are already aware. Be secretive, not because you have to be, but because if you master invisible forces, because when you are silent, it is a art. It is a art to be silent. Silence is a art. Most people can't be silent. If you master the art of silence, you can reap rewards from the silence. That's what meditation is, reaping rewards from the silence. They just don't explain it that way, but that's what it is. If you want to reap rewards from the silence, you have to master the silence. You have to go into the silence. You have to go into the dreams. You have to go into the collective unconscious. You have to go into the land of the dead. And when you are there, you have to stabilize the chaos, because when you go into your dreams, when you go into the collective unconscious, when you go into the land of the dead, obviously it's not as, quiet as it is now. It's all type of energies that are at play that you are now aware of, or because I don't want to be spooky with it, like ghosts and spirits, and it's simply you being aware of what is invisible to your physical eyes. What it really means to have an open third eye is to be aware, to be conscious in more planes than one. If you are conscious in more planes than one, because if there are three planes, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind, if those are the three planes, most people are only aware of the conscious mind. They have no idea what's going on in their subconscious, and they definitely have no idea what's going on in the unconscious, which is the dream world. So if you are aware of what's going on in your subconscious mind, which is the whole point of spirituality, to reprogram the subconscious mind, utilizing all these tools that we utilize, but you are also aware of the collective unconscious. You are also aware collectively of what's going on. So you are aware on an individual level through the subconscious and the conscious mind, but you are also aware you're also aware on a collective level. And again, I'm just trying to really be smooth. I don't want to get aggressive, because that's more to come. Because Pluto is very powerful. So you have to harness this energy very lightly. This is not energy that you can grab at and try to force down and expect it to reap or to give you what you want from it. It's like taming a demon. Because everybody, wants to know about demons, right? So we can get demonic now. Let's speak about the demons. We got to speak about the demons, but let's speak about it in a way that makes sense. If you are working with demons, it's basically that you are working with energies that are from Universe B. Demons exist in Universe B, now that we have the terminology correct. So if they exist in Universe B, you have to access Universe B. But we also just said with Universe A, we have to follow certain rules and regulations. This is why we create sigils and seals. This is why they have to be sealed. This is just following the rules of Universe A. Otherwise, we can just do what we want. In order for us to access either our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, or our unconscious mind, we have to do so in a certain way, because the brain is wired specifically to be activated to certain stimulation. So the more we understand what stimulation the brain responds to, the more power we have over what we call our conscious, our subconscious, or our unconscious. What would be the purpose or the point of having access to the collective unconscious? This is just another way of saying the Akashic records. It is simply your ability to access the records of everything that has happened, will happen, and is happening. Now, are you going to use this information basically to warn people of coming danger? Not necessarily. You use the information so that you can secure your position collectively. Basically, if you access the land of the dead, when you die, this is what you do anyway. Because that's the question. What happens when you die? This is what happens. You go to the land of the dead. You go to the collective unconscious. That's what happens. If you don't know what's going on, of course, you're going to be spooked out. And you're going to travel to things that you are familiar with. This thing is discussed in Astral Dynamics by Robert Bruce. He speaks about in the collective unconscious, there are spirits that are gravitated towards the churches and the religious organizations and institutions, the familiar collective unconscious attributes that we all see in our day-to-day basis. So when you die, you have no idea what's going on. You're going to go towards what you are familiar with. However, if you have already been secure and knowing exactly what's going on here, I know what that is, I know what that is, I know how to actually move around here. I have activated my astral sight. I have become aware because I simply know how to dream. I have become a dreamer. When you become a dreamer, you become more familiar with the terrain of the living dead, the land of the dead. This is basically what necromancy is, which is why it's one of the forbidden arts. It's one of the forbidden arts because you're not supposed to be doing this. Because when people are dead or when things die, it's supposed to be it. That's supposed to when you're buried, when you're in the ground, that's it. That's the end of it. You go to the next world. However, if we understand consciousness never dies, then there's always an essence of consciousness that remains in the collective unconscious or the Akashic records. So you may not necessarily talk to the actual person in their actual evolutionary plane, but you can talk to the emanation of light that is always existent within the soul. So from that perspective, this is why we can have dreams about dead people. You can interact with dead relatives. You can interact with the dead through your dreams. That's why we have all done it before. We have all interacted with some type of dead person or dead being at some point in our dreams. Why is that possible? Because when you dream, it is the land of the dead. However, if you are not aware of what's going on, then of course you just dream, you just go have the experience, you just go forward with your day. However, if you are more in control of your dreams, we already know the quality of your sleep will determine your energy for the entire day. So if you get a deeper quality of sleep, if it's more restful, you're going to have a more productive day. Instead of it being based on, okay, well, I hope I get a restful sleep, instead of you hoping and wishing that it happens, you actually are in control because you know how the brain works. You know how to turn on the subconscious mind. You know how to put yourself in alpha brainwave state or alpha brainwave state. You know how to do this because you have already mastered the silence. You have already mastered what it means to go into meditation. Meditation just means to go into the silence. You know what that means. You know how to do it. You understand how to access invisible forces. Why? Because this is the purpose of dreams. The purpose of dreams is to get familiar with invisible forces. That's all you're doing. Simplify without all the bullshit, without all the extra nonsense. You're just getting familiar with the invisible energies that we have now called planets, the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Uranus is a planet of astrology. Neptune is a planet of alchemy. This is all recorded. When they discovered these planets, they named Neptune the planet of alchemy. They named Uranus the planet of astrology. Pluto is the planet of magic, which is why they're connected with the three occult sciences. Again, these are discoveries I've been making on my own. So if you try to verify any of this anywhere else, you're not going to find it because I'm the first one to tell you, because this is 2020. Someone has to give you the updated information, right? So I'm here to give you the updated information so that you are more advanced Your numerology is now more advanced. Your astrology is now more advanced. Your alchemy is now more advanced. You can do more. The better you understand the terrain that you're on, the better you can manipulate the forces amongst the terrain that, in astrological terms, this is the ascendant. Again, I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose people. Again, for people who may not be familiar with all these terms, I'm trying to speak in general, but at the same time feed those who are already in the know. So it's like I'm having two streams of thoughts at once. So let me actually see if there's any questions here, because I've just been looking at the camera. And this is basically just a freestyle. I just want to give y'all an update, because again, I haven't been showing up often because I have to go back and I have to verify, I have to study, and it has to be grounded in science. This is why I have to speak in a logical way. I don't want to speak and lose people with the nonsense, because it's easy to get drawn into it. It's also why I use these versus the regular playing cards. Why? Because if you have been watching me for years, you've seen me do tarot readings, you've seen me do all this already. What am I going to do different? I have to make it more advanced. We're in a whole nother decade, so I can't speak about what I've already spoken about. I don't even recommend watching my old videos. We're in a whole new decade. It doesn't even matter anymore. Destroy it. Everything moving forward is what matters. So everything I speak moving forward applies to what's moving forward. Everything prior applied to the previous decade. So this is why I wanted to present this video, so I can answer the questions for the new decade, for the future. We are going into the futuristic content now. There's no need to speak about old things. We don't have to speak about pyramids no more. We don't have to speak about anything ancient. We can simply speak about everything moving forward. This is how to build with invisible energy. We are building with invisible energy. Moon, Pluto, 2020, building with invisible forces. But because the moon is there, not only are you doing it in the dream world, you have to amplify your emotional energy. Emotions, because emotions are rarely understood. Because they come, they go, they're so sudden. They capture people out of nowhere. They creep up behind you. It's not really something that you can predict unless you understand what it is. This is where alchemy comes in. This is the final degree of the occult. Very few people evolve to this degree of alchemy. When you become the alchemist, when you become the chemist, because now you understand chemistry. Because when you understand chemistry, which is the foundation of all science, going into biochemistry, now you become the cosmobiologist. Now you become the astrologer who understands science. Now you can connect astrology with medical science. Now whatever degree you hold, you can fuse it with the occult science. So whatever you have already mastered, you can apply the occult science with it to amplify everything that you do, your entire environment. You become the master, because no one else will know what you know and can do what you do, because you understand that which is invisible. You can't just go up and explain these things to anyone, because they have to have actual experience. You can't just expect people to believe in occult science because it's invisible. But you must amplify your lunar energy. The amplification of your lunar energy allows the occult to become more active to you personally within. And when it becomes more active to you personally within, now it all makes sense. So I'm going to quickly answer these questions, if any, that we're going to check out. All right. New music. Absolutely. It's 2020. It's a new decade. It's like I'm a cage demon right now. That's why I'm real aggressive. I'm like a cage demon. Why? Because it's been a long time. A lot had to be put in. Much work had to be put in for me to be right here. That's why I have to give back. I've been away for a while, so I have to give back, right? So in the form of music, I will give in the form of music, of course. But now I know the business. I had to learn this shit. Why? I didn't go to college. I don't have a college degree. I have to learn everything on my own. So I have to learn everything step by step. One, two, three, four, five. So now I'm not just putting out music, just okay, let me just throw it out. Now I know how to receive royalties. I know how to put myself on Apple Music and all the platforms. I know how to do it professionally now, so it's all good. So when I release the music, it will be done professionally. So I'm not just going to be throwing things out and just, hey, I hope people see it and all that. Everything is going to be done professionally because I had to learn everything. I've been learning everything step by step. All right. So as you see everything moving forward, everything will be done professionally on a level that you haven't seen anywhere else because ain't no one else learning it. I have to go to the library. I have to get the books to dedicate weeks, sometimes a month, to learn how to do certain things so that I can implement it. So that's why I can't always be on camera, because everything has to be learned from the ground up. But that's what Pluto is for, right? All right, where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Okay. Peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. Yeah, we got the Beethoven in the background. Because I'll just give y'all a little insight. Don't expect traditional hip hop or music from me. I'm going to show and prove how universal this craft is that we call hip hop, that we call the hip hop culture, how universal this is. Where I can make music to music like this. I can MC over classical music. I can even create the music. So anyway, I'm not going to give too much because the formula will be created in time. So no, I'm not going to speak too much about it. All right. Um, what are other skills to harness in 2020 alongside invisibility? Become a dreamer. I spoke about that, but let me give you more. Let's speak more about the four frequency. I spoke about 2020. So you want more? Let's speak about that four. Let's speak about that evil, wicked demon that's overhead of this year. You wonder why this year has been crazy already? That's that four. That's Rahu. Read Medusa's story. Read how Medusa was, you can say, angelic. Medusa was angelic. She got raped. And you know what that does to a woman. If you don't, read the story of Medusa. Let me give you more detail. She actually was trying to warn her superior, I believe was Athena or Aphrodite. It was one of the other goddesses, right? So the story of Medusa, the story of Medusa. She was angelic, one of the gods, I think Personian, one of the gods, again, don't quote me on the names. One of the gods tried to rape her. She tried to warn her superior, one of the goddesses that was above her. The goddess that was above her turned her back and allowed the rape to occur, basically. So she just allowed the rape to occur. Then she was cursed because in that culture or in that lifestyle, you had to be a virgin, right? So she was no longer a virgin at the time, so she became cursed with the serpent head. Yada yada yada. All right. I appreciate the $5, Brianna. Appreciate that. So for women, so I'll give both perspectives. So yeah, I do. That's why I say Rahu. That's why I say Medusa. So I'll give both perspectives. So for the women, or the woman, for the woman is to embody Medusa. What does that mean? Medusa is the angelic demon. So not just a pure, hard ass, just stone cold demon like we think of demons. Think of, I'm not really sure, an archangel. There we go. Think of an archangel because this is an angelic being, such as Raphael. Raphael is an angelic being, but he has mastery over demons. So for those who are into the archangels, Raphael, he's also the demon tamer or the demon master. So not only is he angelic, he has the power over demons. So Rahu opens up a portal for the demons to come in. So you must be the demon tamer. You must be the demon capturer. You must capture the demons. They're in abundance. They're everywhere. Do you have enough power to tame it? Do you have enough emotional power, lunar power? Again, this is not physical. Lunar power, that too, over that Pluto. Remember, invisible force as well. What do they react to? Emotional energy. You have to build your emotional currency, your emotional energy in order to do this type of stuff, right? Do you have enough power to capture demons that are in abundance? So for the women, embody the energy of Medusa. For the men, embody the energy of Rahu. For those who may not be familiar with the story of Rahu, it is a Vedic story. So you have to study Vedic mythology. Rahu was a demon. I'll just give you the short version. Rahu was a demon who disguised himself as a god, and the gods were having a celebration, and they were drinking the divine nectar that made them immortal. And Rahu was discovered at the last minute, so his tongue, the tip of his tongue, touched the elixir. Head got cut off, so the head became immortal. So the living immortal head became Rahu, and the headless body became Ketu. So you have Rahu and Ketu. So Rahu is the immortal head. So Rahu being the number 4 is all about worldly success. So if you study the attributes of the number 4, not only does it represent stability, it also represents the ability to craft or to dig in the underground, to dig to the foundation, to dig to the depths, to go into the subterranean planes of the earth, the hollow earth, to go into the hollow earth. Go into the hollow earth. What does that mean? It just means work with demons. That's all it means. Not just work with them. Capture the demons, right? Because if we are the angels, if we are the fallen angels, because I'm sure nobody just considers himself completely demonic, right? You still have some type of essence within you. So we're 50-50. There's no difference between the angels and the demons. That's why you have archangels and archdevils. Archangels, archdevils. You always will have the polarity. Most people are afraid to work with the darker currents of reality. Most people are not going to touch the darker currents of reality. Most people are not going to touch the forbidden arts. Most people are going to remain on the angelic side. Most people are going to remain on the right-hand side. Most people are not going to delve into the darker subterranean planes. However, this is why most people don't have power. This is why most people don't have the things that they desire. This is the very reason why they have complaints, because of their fear. Not just personal fear, but collective fear. Due to the bond or the bounds of religion. We already know religion means to bind. It gives you structure. Like, do not travel beyond these boundaries. So for most people that works. It gives you boundaries to stay within so that you go to heaven, essentially. That's the ultimate goal. When you start going outside of those bounds, when you start exploring the forbidden and the unknown and the ancient, then things became a lot more interesting. So you have to push yourself to the edges of reality, just like Rahu. Rahu had enough courage to disguise himself as a god, and he accomplished his goal of immortality. Rahu did something that had not been done prior to that. He was the first. He was the trailblazer. That had not been done before. Even though only his head survived, he still did the impossible to accomplish the impossible. Why? Because you are working with the darker forces. Meaning, if Rahu's destiny was to become an angel or immortal, he accomplished that, even if it was only his head. But he accomplished the impossible. So to accomplish the impossible, or that 4 frequency, in this particular circumstance, because the 4 is manifested through the 2020, because the 4 can be manifested through many sequences of numbers. But this particular sequence is 2020. So in order to master or to tame that demon that we call Rahu or Medusa, the 4, we must go through the 2020 right? All right, all right. So I appreciate it, everybody. Can I do more videos on money? See, the thing about money, that's the thing. The thing about money, I'll give a little here. I'll give a little here, not too much, just a little. You know, I just wanna, I haven't been around, right? So I'm gonna give, I'm gonna give, I'm gonna give. Things that I don't usually talk about, I'm gonna talk about. I don't usually go live. You see, I do pre-recorded videos. I don't usually do it, but I'm gonna do it as an introduction. So let's speak about money, right? Money has to be understood in two ways. Again, if you already saw my video with the breakdown of money, then this is a plus lesson. If you have not seen my breakdown, then go watch that after this or before this or whatever. So, just to give a quick introduction, for those who are familiar with astrology, you know you have the houses, 12 houses, 12 zodiac signs, 12 houses or 12 mansions. So you have 12 zodiac, then you have 12 mansions. So the zodiac are within the mansions, as we call houses. So if the zodiac is Aries through Pisces, you have the first house through the 12th house. So the first house would be the house of Aries, the second house would be the house of Taurus, all the way to the 12th house would be the 12th house of Pisces. However, the houses are more like mansions. So as the zodiac travels through the 360 degrees, for example, let me just give you an example. So let's just say the moon was in Aries in the second house, because we're talking about money. So the money house is the second house, the house of Taurus. So anything money related, you know you're working with the energy of Taurus. So understand that first and foremost. But what does that mean? Because I know we hear that, okay, you got to work with Taurus, but that's not enough, right? That's giving you a reference. But what does Taurus mean? We have to take it to the tarot. See, the tarot, that's why the tarot is the foundation of astrology, because the tarot gives you more insight. Because when you take it to the tarot and you look at, well, what card is represented as Taurus, you get the Hierophant. Before it was a Hierophant, it was the Pope. I like that better, the Pope, right? So it gives you the idea of the Pope. So when we think about Taurus, now you can think about the Pope. Well, what is the duties of the Pope? How does the Pope operate? In most tarot decks, the Hierophant or the Pope is depicted throned. He's sitting on a throne, and there's two students. I can just grab the card, actually. Why don't I just grab the card, right? I'm just going to grab the card. We're going to do extra. Let me just grab the card. Have the deck right here. I keep it on deck. It stays on deck, right? Because these are our tools. These are the tools you use to understand anything in the universe. Anything can be understood. Why? Because it's deeper than the pictures. Understand that it is not just about the picture. Every picture is mathematical. There are mathematics behind every image. So when you put the mathematics with the image, now you're rolling. If you're relying strictly on intuition without science, you're on the first degree. So tarot readers are on the first degree. Astrologers are the second degree. Alchemists are the third degree. Well, what's the difference between one and the three? Alchemists create elixirs, alcohol, psychedelics. Somebody who can, this is like, let's just get raw. Let's just really get raw. Imagine your local drug dealer selling you some shit that he cooked up or she cooked up herself, because she has a formula. She's a cook or he's a cook. They understand chemistry. They know what adds on to things and what doesn't add on. They know what bonds together and what doesn't bond together. So they know how to add things favorably to drugs, which are just chemicals. It's all chemistry. Why is America ran on drugs? America is chemistry. That's the third degree. So you wanna understand world politics? Alchemy. Alchemy. Or why are drugs, you go to a different country, they think we're insane. You can walk up to a dispensary and buy drugs. That's completely insane in other places. Like, how are you able to do that? Like, why are you feeding your people drugs? Alchemy. Or why is tobacco legal and it kills people? Why is alcohol legal? You want to know why? It's alchemy, formulas, recipes. This is the realm or the land of the chemist, right? The land of the chemist. That's why shows like Breaking Bad was such a phenomenon and all that. The land of the chemist. When you become the chemist, when you master that third degree, now you a different type of being. When you know how to work with poison, see that's the difference. They ain't gonna teach you that. They're not gonna teach you how to work with the poison. They're not gonna teach you how to work with the venom. They're not gonna teach you that. But I'll reveal it to you. The alchemist knows how to manipulate poison and venom, how to create a psychedelic experience, know how to access any chamber of the mind at will because you know chemistry. Chemistry allows you to manipulate your brain however you choose because you know chemistry. You know what to put inside of your body and what it does, what chemical reaction will happen because you understand chemistry. All right? This is just how it really get. But when you're on the other side of it, so you can go to school, you can get your degree in chemistry, you can be a chemist, but when you're the alchemist, see when it's an al in front, it's different. Like al Quran, alchemy. Whenever you got that al in front of it, that means it's cosmic. There's a cosmic essence to it. When your chemistry has a cosmic essence to it, you're the alchemist. That's what an alchemist is. The cosmic chemist. That's our overall goal as we work our way through the occult to become cosmic chemists. When you know how to whip up any type of elixir that you need so you can be at perfect health. So you don't rely on the markets. You don't rely on anyone else. You don't rely on anything other than your own mixtures and recipes because you know how chemistry works. You become your own medical doctor. You don't have to go to the doctor. You know how to heal all things because you understand chemistry. So let me get this card out. This is what I was talking about. I was talking about the Hierophant. This is a Hierophant. So you can see it. So before it was a Hierophant, it was the Pope. So you see the bull. He's seated on the throne with the bull. He has the woman in front. But what you don't notice, or the points, or the purpose of this card, the hidden element of this card, is the man is seated and the woman has a sword. Let me get it a little closer. The woman holds the sword, while the man is on the throne with the staff. The man holds the staff, while the woman holds the sword. If we understand Hebrew, if we go to the Hebrew alphabet, and I'll speak more about the Hebrew alphabet on the website, but I'll give you a freebie here, just for the purposes of the video. The staff is Libra, the sword is Gemini. So when we think about the Pope, we're thinking about the elements of Gemini and the elements of Libra. So in the tarot terminology, it would be the Lovers and the Adjustment card. In some decks, it's Temperance. Again, there's variations. So you're dealing with the Adjustment card or the Libra, and you're dealing with Gemini. So when Gemini and Libra fuse under the degree of Taurus, there's money. You have the currency that's generated. Gemini, Libra, Taurus. That's money for you. If we relate it to astrology houses, what is that? That's the second house. The second house would be Taurus. Gemini will be the third house of communication. So you got the second house of money, the third house of communications. And what is Libra? Libra is the seventh house of contracts and partnerships. That's what money is. Money is a combination of the second house, resources, communication of those resources, communication, negotiation, deal making between partnerships, one-on-one contracts, especially when you're talking about big money. A contract has to be in place. That's Libra. Libra is all about the contracts that have to be signed when negotiation. So you have negotiation, the contract, and the resources. That's money. So when we understand the occult, fuse it with the Hebrew alphabet, fuse it with the Kabbalistic science, the tree of life. Let's take it to the tree of life again. This is super advanced. But let's take it to the tree of life. Where is this card on the tree of life? This card, the Hierophant or the Pope, connects Chokmah and Chesed. If you don't know the terminology, they exist on the pillar of mercy. So this is a merciful energy, which is why he's seated. The reason why he's seated is because Chokmah and Chesed are on the pillar of mercy, meaning you got the pillar of severity, then you got the pillar of mercy. So the Hierophant is on the pillar of mercy, so he's seated. Chokmah is all about the fixed stars. So the astrologer, the one who gazes the stars. So when you look at this card, he's a stargazer. All right? Chesed is all about love. Not necessarily a physical love, but a spiritual love. So you have a stargazer who has compassion, which is why you have students at the feet. And there's animals embracing this energy. This energy is the fusion of Chesed, which is the energy of Jupiter. So if we want to relate it to astrology, this would be the energy of Jupiter. But enough of that. We get to these questions. Enough of that, enough of that. What are the consequences or counterbalance of embodying the demon? It's going to bring out the darkest aspects of yourself. If you're not ready to see how dark you can get, then don't work with demons. Fear yourself. Fear what you can be. Demons show you what you can be. Demons show you, oh, I didn't know I can get that upset. Oh, I didn't know I can get that mad. Most of the time, it's just like violent eruptions for a lot of people. But what it's showing you is your potential. Like, oh, shit, you didn't even know you had that amount of force within you. It brings out that force that is mainly hidden or occult or invisible, because these are the type of energies that only come out when you're like in a life or death situation, when you're in a situation where you are having a chemical reaction. The alchemist understands when you are having chemical reactions, when the adrenaline glands are producing adrenaline, when it's going through your bloodstream. You understand, right? That's what the demons stimulate that experience for you. However, when you're the demon tamer, you don't have to go through chaos, because you can keep it right there sealed under your control and have some type of communication. You are in control of the situation instead of the situation controlling you when you are the demon tamer. So you must work with the demon tamer. So work with Raphael. So for anybody who may be afraid of working with demons, go through Raphael first. So summon Raphael first, then work with the demon or one of the other archangels. So if anyone who needs a shield of protection, then summon the archangel first, then work with the demon. So that will shield you if you need that form of protection. All right? So there you go. There you go. Can I speak on synchronicity? Synchronicity is, well, it comes from Carl Jung. So for those, Carl Jung or Carl Jung. So that's the man who invented the term. So based on his perspective or his definition of synchronicity, the one who invented the term, so I'm not going to use anybody else's definition, is basically when the inner and the outer relate. What do I mean? If you have a dream, and let's just say you see a person in a dream, if you see a person you've never seen before in a dream, then you wake up at that dream, but you remember their face. And you're going through physical reality doing what you do, and you actually see this person that you've never seen before. That's a synchronistic moment, because had you not remembered that dream, it wouldn't matter. But because you remember that person's face and you actually see that person's face, then let's just say that person has an unusual attraction towards you as well. Then you understand, like, oh shit, synchronicity. However, synchronicity only matters if you have enough lunar energy to remember these type of visuals and visions that we receive. We are always receiving transmissions from the currents of reality, from the planets, the planetary rays, the planetary vibrations. We are always receiving and transmitting information. It's just all about how aware you are of what's being sent out and what's being received. All right. I appreciate the kind comments always. What do you think about Trump killing the? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Again, I normally don't speak about current events, right? Not that I don't, same way I didn't speak about the whole Kobe thing. Like, I don't like making money off the debt. You know what I mean? Look at any of my videos. I've never put nobody's name in my title. You're not going to see any famous person, any bigger type of person. You're not going to see no names nowhere in the hundreds of videos I produce because I don't like making money off the debt in that fashion. So I don't do it. However, because I'm being asked, I will speak about it. So that's just why you don't see me doing that type, because I don't necessarily care to make money in that way. I could, of course, because I have the insight, but let me do it now. I'll do it now just to demonstrate. Let me demonstrate. What do I think about the 2020 with the Trump and Iran, American? So it's basically America and Iran. What's going on with all that? Simply, we don't have to go too deep into it. It's the year or a year of Rahu. Everything that we have been talking about is what's going on. Let me go back to all the way back. I think I may have wanted to speak about this, but I started speaking about something else. I have been doing my research. Yes, because this is a 4 year. Whenever a 4 year is the first year of a new decade, whenever it's a four, so you add up the numerology of a year, and when it breaks down to a four, and when that year is the start of a new decade, then there's always a war that breaks out. Do the history. I did the history. Do it for yourself. Go back in history, add up the numbers, and whenever there's a four frequency, when that's the beginning of a new decade. So if a four frequency, so 2020, so 2024, new decade. So whatever year before this, the start of a new decade, those numbers add up to four, a war broke out. A war break. This is the energy of war. So this is why I'm not just telling you this based on necessarily how I feel. I did my research, and you can do your research. Do your research. Use numerology to your advantage and study history so that you can better understand the numbers on a worldly level. So whenever you want to know what's going to happen, you can always use history. For example, the second year, we can use that whole decade. Whenever you find I'm not going to give you the decade, you have to do your own knowledge. But when you find a decade that corresponds to the four, then you observe those whole 10 years, they're going to mimic or have the same pattern. So I'm not going to say mimic. There are certain patterns that are produced. It's always going to be a unique pattern because it's not 2020, it may have been 1875 or something. So it's going to always be a unique set of events. But because the four is a common denominator, you will see the same patterns that resonate with the energy of four, which is the number of war. Not necessarily from the perspective of Mars. You can say Mars is the warrior, Mars is about war. From the perspective of a earthly war, because Mars is the fire energy. Rahu is more about the earth. So when you dealing with an earthly war, that means it's more about resources. So the war is based in resources. It's always been about resources. It always will be about resources. So it's going to always be tension when you have people that control resources. So this is a war about resources. So whatever we see happening, whether what they do or what Trump does, it is ultimately about resources. So we don't need to pay attention to the people. We don't need to pay attention to Trump. We don't need to pay attention to the people in charge, the government. All we have to do is pay attention to the numerology, because that will show us the themes. Pay attention to the astrology. That will show us the themes. It doesn't matter who the people are. When you understand the themes, the people will play out the themes. The people will play out the astrological vibrations and rays of light. It's not about the people. It's about the rays of light. that are played out through the people. The only time that energy is not played out is when you have enough consciousness to supersede the planetary vibrations. So whenever I speak about planetary vibrations, this is what the collective unconsciousness is ruled by. The collective unconscious is ruled by the planets. The only thing that can supersede the planetary vibrations is your mind. You have to become conscious that you have the ability to do that. This is why we study the occult science, because it makes you aware that you actually have control over things that you didn't know you had control over. You didn't know you had invisible powers. You didn't know you had access to your chi. You didn't know you had access to pranayama. You didn't know you had access to make yourself stronger, and you can do superhuman things by having certain combinations of thoughts and energy patterns. We had no idea we can do these things, but we can. So we have to tap into the outer planets. But if you don't know what that means, if you're just thinking about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto from strictly astronomy basis, then it doesn't make any sense. But remember, astronomy and alchemy, not alchemy, excuse me, astronomy and astrology are the same. They were only separated in the 17th century. Do your history. Before that, they were synchronized. There was no difference. They parted ways in the 17th century due to politics. Not because astrology was wrong, it was due to politics. It just fell out of favor of the politicians, as that's just how things go. Weed was illegal, now it's legal. That's just politics. That's just all it is. It ain't about what's right or wrong, because this is when we get into law. Alchemy teaches you law. Alchemy teaches you that it's not about right or wrong, it's about law. What do I mean? We'll use prostitution, right? Prostitution. Prostitution is only illegal in cities with over 400,000 people. Because if we go by morals, you can say, well, that should be illegal, period. But it's not. It's only illegal in major cities. That's it. It's only illegal based on where you are. It was never about morality. The law has never been about morality. It's just about what makes sense. It's about earth science. It is never about morality. It is simple as that. That's why there are different laws everywhere you go. There's no universal moral code. There isn't. Depending on what religion you are, you got a different set of codes. Depending on what religion you are, everything is different based on your codes. Your codes create your reality. What codes are you downloading into your subconscious and unconscious mind? Your codes create your reality. Give me 1 second. So, where we at with it? Can you explain the 222 energy? It's a triple moon frequency. Triple moon. So what does that mean? The triple goddess, right? You see in the staff, the triple moon, the 3 phases of the moon, right? Obviously, the moon has more than 3 phases, but when we think about the triple goddess, it's talking about the triple stages of darkness. The triple stages of darkness is basically the creation of the tree of life. So the tree of life was created in 3 stages of darkness. So the triple goddess of the 222 is really talking about a way deeper science that anyone ever even gets into. All right. So I think that's it. We'll get up out of here. Let me make sure I got everything. All right. Oh yeah, are dragons real? In the spirit world, yes. Not physically. No, you're not going to physically see a dragon. But if you tap into the back of your head, yeah. Elementals, basically. Elementals. That's what they are. Elementals. Elementals are real. The fairy kingdom, the fire kingdom, all that is real. All the things that don't make sense. Hence, Universe B. Everything in Universe B does not make any sense in Universe A. If you were seeing dragons flying around, that would make no sense. You're like, oh, physically, how is that even possible? It wouldn't even make sense physically. Well, based on physics. But in the collective unconscious, in the land of the dead, none of that applies. There are different rules and regulations depending on what frequency you're on. Depending on what frequency you're on, you are subjected to different rules, regulations, and codes. All right. Are leap years more dramatic than regular years? So basically, with the added date of February, the 29th degree, that's the moon and Mars. So when you ask, is it more dynamic? Yes, because it introduces the energy of Mars. So you got the moon and Mars interacting. So basically, you got the energy of the high priestess and the energy of the tower for those who understand the tarot language. So you got the tower, which represents sudden change, and you got the moon, which represents emotional. It's like a sudden shift of emotional energy. It's like walking into a person. You walked into your partner cheating on you or something, and a sudden shift. Your emotional energy is going to go through the roof instantaneously. Right? So that's what that means. That shift or swift emotional energy. Yeah, these words are all over the place right now. All right. Isn't a chicken the strongest version nature can make of a dragon? Nature has certain codes. Nature isn't trying to make a dragon physically. That has nothing to do with nature, because nature, there's already a dragon in existence. Dragons already exist. Nature doesn't need to produce a physical dragon in the form of a chicken. A chicken is a pattern or a code of the universe, an archetypal. Tell me I'm thinking about architects. Archetypal, the archetypal language of the universe. The chicken is there. The lion is there. The alligator is there. The dinosaur is there. All these things that are not here, they're in the archetypal language of the universe. All right. Yeah, when creating companies, sigils, it's all about sigil magic. A company is a tamed demon. That's the last thing, and we getting out of here. Companies, business, tamed demons. When you see sigils on business, business companies are sealed demons. Sealed demons. That's it. That's it. Business, sealed demons. Contracts, blood contracts. What are you doing? You're sealing demons. The demon is just the people. When you are signing contracts, you are the entity. Right? That's when we go into that language, you have fictitious language. You got your name in all caps and all that. We have who we are, then we have who we do business as. Business, it takes you to more dimensions. When you want to say, oh, this is how you do business. You can create shell companies and you can move money around instantaneously. It's a whole language that most people just don't understand. Again, this is why most people don't have access to the resources. It's just knowledge that you're not going to learn anywhere else but on your own. So that's what we take from this. Learn on your own. Learn everything. Study everything yourself. Do not depend on anybody else to take you through the halls of a mentee, the chambers that only you can explore from the back of your mind, the collective unconscious. So we out. Peace.